A young data worker logs into her workstation every morning, working close to her home, earning with dignity, aiming for her first promotion. In Uttar Pradesh, a digital journalist edits local stories on her phone, pushing past restrictive norms to make new voices heard. Across rural India, frontline workers pick up their phones to enable last-mile public services. Tracking nutrition, delivering rations, delivering advice that saves lives. In the new landscape of women's work in India's booming digital economy, enabled by a strong DPI infrastructure, enabling policy environment, platformization of work, and the AI boom. The digital economy is not one job or equal to gig work alone. It's a spectrum of opportunity. From digitally enabled frontline roles to digitally engaged infrastructure and tech roles to digitally embedded careers in AI, content, and data ecosystems. Yet, this work is often unrecognized, unprotected, and underpaid. And women are still clustered in entry-level roles where work is precarious, digital layer is invisible, and career progression is unclear. As AI platforms and DPI reshape work, the story is being rewritten. Join us in shaping a chapter powered by women. This moment calls for bold collaboration. Government, industry, and communities can step up to accelerate women's participation in the future of work. Women are already meeting the moment. It's time the ecosystem levels up. Discover how we can accelerate women's participation, engagement, and progression at scale.
Fantastic. So thank you for that. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our panelists today. We have Dr. Sharon Boto, Executive Director, Lead at Kriya University, moderating this discussion. We have Atul Satija, Founder and CEO of the Nudge Institute, who has joined us today as well. We also welcome Maithili Ramesh, Co-Founder and Managing Director, Next Wealth, along with Yona Repeshte, who's serving as the Assistant Director, Global Strategy at Digital Green. Shortly, we'll also be joined by Dr. Madan Mohan Tripathi, who is the Director General for the National Institute of Electronics and IT, NILIT. So before we delve into the discussion, I'd request if all the panelists can just stand up for a quick photo. And I'd really like to welcome our session officers for this session to also please join. Dr. Kapil, Arun sir, Sulai sir, if you can just please come up. Yeah. नहीं, हाँ. Fantastic, thank you. So Sharon, with this, over to you, and I hope you all enjoy this discussion today.
Oh, now it's working. Thanks a lot. And I think it's a panel at the end of the day, but it's wonderful because people are full of ideas and things like that. So hopefully you'll have some insights from this one. So as you saw in this video, this actually panel is based on some of the fundamental work we've done on the ground up. Some of the people we've actually interviewed as well as part of the process to be able to devise sort of like the future of work for women in AI. I think the main question here is not whether AI will impact women, it's how, what systems we need to in place, how to integrate them, how to make sure they're part of the process and not just as a result of it. So I'm going to start with Atul. Atul is sort of like an ecosystem builder, and usually it's always the person at the end. How do you bring the people together? I would love to start with you first. How do you view, with your experience in the work that we're doing with you with Samnati? I think you've done Digital Naukri. So what are the ecosystem level, the levels that are required to help integrate women in AI in a way that is purposeful, in a way that gives them dignity in work, in a way that elevates them and that they think grow with them? given their particular constraints as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Heavy loaded question. Please take it as you want to. Yeah, great.
No, thank you so much for that, and thank you so much for joining us. Before we actually dive into it, I think it will really help the panelists if you are able to have a sense of the audience in the room. Can we have a quick show of hands to see how many of you are part of the civil society organizations, non-profits, academics? Oh wow, large majority. How many of you are from the industry? For-profit companies, skilling setup, providers, stuff like that? Anybody from government here? Thank you. Okay.
That is why we have the ecosystem builder talk first. He'll tell us what is the ecosystem.
Well, I'm going to be preaching to the choir because everybody here is from the civil society and I represent that more than I represent the industry or the government here. I think let me start by saying that I think the larger question under which the future of women in digital ecosystem falls is the work itself. And I don't think over the last 2 years in all my conversations with people, not just in India but globally, if I ask where is the work going to be, I don't think anybody has the answer. Most people are able to answer it by saying that AI will take work away, a large volume of that, and there isn't going to be enough work for anyone, whether it's men or women. And that's a big problem. People do argue saying that everybody's productivity will go up, so smallholder farmer can do more with AI. Everybody is arguing that a last mile health worker, education worker, extension workers in agri, rural cadre worker, all of them will be slightly more productive. So I think that's the value AI will bring. But I don't think people have an answer to do we have net new jobs or a huge number of jobs taken away. I don't think that's a topic of conversation right now, so we'll pin that question, but unless we answer this, everything else is a cute corner in which we are trying to find our efficiency answers, but the biggest sort of sword dangling on us is that will we have enough work for everyone? Pinning that aside, I think what's happening in the ecosystem in general from the work we have seen around as well as what we have done through some of our initiatives is that there's a lot of silos out there. If you look at on the government side, we have 22 plus schemes out there that are actually providing digital skills to women, which is quite a lot, from rural development to social justice to ministries touching technology to ministries touching specific communities in various inclusion, exclusion audience. The challenge is that all those skilling initiatives are creating skilled workforce, but they are not in work. None of them actually have the last mile connection to the job. So you see a huge amount of skilling not leading to better employment, any employment, or employment at all, and people are wondering what are they doing skilling for. And the whole skilling ecosystem hence is a little bit of self-serving in the sense that we have skilled people. It works when there is a child, like you invest in a child thinking at some point the child will have better life outcomes in education. But in skilling, you don't have that patience. You're skilling an adult who's looking for a job outcome or a livelihood outcome in 3-6 months from where they are. So a lot of skilling is happening without that. I think on the non-profit side, the non-profit ecosystem is probably closer to the markets because they care about after skilling what happens. But even there, when you go and look at it, they are actually creating a large amount of skilling closer to where people are, not closer to where jobs are. So most of India's skilling is supply side skilling, not demand side skilling. You take people where they are at the source of origin of people, not closer to the markets, and people don't migrate after they are skilled to actually where the jobs are. And you see a lot of mobility challenges massively enhanced when it comes to women. Men are way more mobile, time flexibility rich than women, and that becomes another huge barrier for women when they're accessing jobs. Industry is trying to do skilling, but that's not creating net new jobs. That's not even creating net new productivity. It is required for a cafe chain to train their people how to make a cappuccino, right? That's not really skilling. That's like an employer investing in L&D for their workforce to be able to do what they're supposed to do. So huge amount of siloed efforts happening across the country, which are not necessarily leading to the outcomes that you want to see for women, specifically on higher incomes, more labor force participation, or better life outcomes in general at the end of that skilling. Now, when you look at it, that's sort of one huge gap. Everything is operating in silos. In terms of one of the things that we need to be seeing in this ecosystem, hence, is who are the people who understand the jobs and the demand side best, and how can they be the entry point of where women can actually get connected to jobs. Given the safety concerns, mobility concerns, home care, parental responsibilities, etc., women have a lot less mobility, a lot less time richness and time flexibility richness to be able to participate. If we have to solve for this, we have to take work where women are. And the challenge is that that work is so disaggregated across the country that you don't see any intermediaries from where the jobs are and where women are actually. And I think unless we really invest in demand side aggregator platforms, we won't be able to see this all. We saw it in microfinance. If you don't have last mile providers of finance, you are not able to give access to finance to women. If you don't have last mile aggregators of work, you won't be able to take work where women are. So if I was to have one recommendation, I think the most important is who are the intermediaries that will actually aggregate work and take markets to where women are. And I see there's a lot of good work happening in pockets. Obviously, your work is very inspiring and we'd love to learn more about it. There is Karya, one of the organizations, a part of our portfolio, who takes work from AI-first companies and is able to actually take that work to women across the country. And they have close to 100,000 workers right now in just 3 years across the country who are participating in labor markets by working on data, content, moderation, annotation, etc. So we need a lot more of that, and I think investments in that are almost negligible, very minuscule compared to the size of the need that we have.
Excellent starting point, which brings me again to Mithila Ramesh. I think this is a brilliant sort of like way to segue to this, which I think NextWealth has been one of the stellar jewels to your human-in-the-loop models, where they're able to really challenge this ideal of AI replaces people, instead they create jobs, no? So, and you have a lot of experience even before AI. I think you have, and it would be great if you explain a bit about NextWealth and the history and how you came about, as well that model community-based integrated structure where you do integrate women in the process. So it is something very local, but also globally efficient as well. So you have that challenge as well. So lovely to hear your insights on that. Yeah.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope people at the back can hear and see as well. Very nice to be here. I'm going to break your question into multiple parts. I think Atul has covered a lot of the background. The first part that Sharon was talking about is the human-in-the-loop part. Just a quick context setting on the human-in-the-loop and NextWealth. NextWealth is an organization which is into, it's a social entrepreneurship organization. We do work which is human-in-the-loop work in the AI development to deployment life cycle. And our purpose is to generate jobs for graduates in small towns with specific focus on women. So we have about 60% women in our organization. We are across 11 centers and about 5,000 people and have provided jobs to about 20,000 people. We do work in the areas of AI development to deployment lifecycle, which includes data annotation, it includes RLHF, prompt, fine-tuning, human eval, and so on. So that's a little bit of context about NextWealth. Second point that you mentioned is about automation, and Atul was also touching upon it in terms of automation, taking away jobs, which is a real fear which is there in the minds of a lot of people today. While in the short term, it is probably going to automate a lot of the work that is done today, especially from the BPO industry, I think in the long term, the volumes are really going to go up. And why is that? It is because, let's say you have 100 people doing work and because of automation, it reduces to 40. But because of the fact that today AI and AI agents, agentic AI has opened up a whole lot of possibilities, there are going to be a lot of use cases and newer areas that are going to come up, and therefore the volumes are actually going to go up. So we believe that the next 100 million jobs are going to be generated in this space. And it's like if out of 100, 60 gets automated and reduces to 40, the 100 itself is going to go up. 20 years back, we talked about mobile phone usage and UPI usage about 10, 15 years back. It was predicted it will grow to 1 million transactions. We are actually many billions transactions. I think that is an inflection point today that we are in, and the next 100 million jobs is going to be generated in this area because of the volumes of AI work that is going to happen. And I just read, I think yesterday or day before yesterday, in Infosys investor write-up, and they have actually said 92 million jobs are going to get automated, but 170 million jobs are going to get created. So that's again an order of about 100 million, and 300 to 400 billion dollars worth of new service areas are going to be generated. Of course, these are all numbers one can guess. It can be plus or minus, but that is the scale of what we are talking about. So volumes are going to go up because of this. Volumes are also going to go up because as more and more of these AI applications come in, I think there is an inherent problem of bias or hallucination which happens, because lot of the AI work that is happening is at a higher, for the economically forward sort of organizations, except what Yona was, and she'll talk a lot more about it. But because of that, the chances of bias and hallucination is much, much higher. So how do you make, I want to just bring up the fact of difference between automation and AI. I'm sure all of you know it already, but automation is deterministic, and therefore for the same input, you get the same output. AI is probabilistic and can never be 100% perfect. So you'll always need the human in the loop to make it do the quality check, do the validation, to do the testing. It can automate maybe 50, 60%, and we've seen with many of our clients that even if it automates 50, 60%, that has to be validated against bias and hallucination. And the 40%, anyway, the human in the loop has to do the work. So the volumes will go up because of the fact many more AI applications are coming in. And number two, because you have to make it, because of the bias that is inherent, and the fact that it is probabilistic, it requires human in the loop to do the validation, testing, make it more trustworthy, reliable, more responsible, and explainable. I think that becomes very, very critical as the volume. And all of us are very familiar with deep fake videos. We see audios, we see videos, we see articles. You don't know the authenticity and the genuineness of these articles or videos. That's where this whole thing of making AI responsible, trustworthy, and reliable comes into play. So that's the second point in terms of volumes going up. Third point that you mentioned is in terms of globally competitive and locally inclusive. So to be globally competitive, one has to build the capability in these newer skill areas. One has to be very fast. The speed with which things are happening is, what used to take weeks or months is taking days today. You can build a website in under an hour today. So the speed with which we operate is the second most important thing. Third is positioning as a reliability layer becomes very important, especially for the human in the loop. And last, of course, is the price part. The moment it becomes affordable, then you will have that much more applications and usage that actually increases. So that is the making it globally competitive. These four things become very important. And locally inclusive is, Atul touched on it. Locally inclusive becomes important because a lot of, especially in industries like financial services, retail, marketplaces, fashion, where women have a role to play. You can't have human in the loop and training of AI algorithms which is biased towards, let's say, a higher economy or men. It has to be locally inclusive too, especially in these industries. And that will make the AI models far more robust than what it is today. And therefore, I think it is a business imperative and not just about inclusiveness. It is a business imperative to have women doing this human in the work as far as these industries are concerned. The fourth point that you mentioned was in terms of barriers. So I think the biggest barrier from the supply side is actually having access to organizations who need this type of work. And from the demand side is to say that there are women and people from small towns who can actually do this work, and this sort of work that requires volumes. So the way we have addressed in our own organization is to have AI-based task skilling. We have an all-women center where medical coding is done by the women there. So AI does a lot of the medical coding and assigning the ICD codes. The AI does it, but the exceptions come to us. And exceptions, it's very, very difficult to do medical coding because it runs to pages and you have to assign the right code. And the target therefore is 97%. This all-women center is actually doing it at 99%. They're just hitting it out of the park. So a lot of this work is, I wanted to address this part in terms of repeating, just summarizing whatever I said right now. It's in terms of the human in the loop part and the sort of work that is being done, the volumes that are going to go up, and therefore the global competitiveness and local inclusivity becomes very important. And not only from the inclusivity part of it, but also from the fact that you would need this sort of, we need women to be able to do this human in the loop work to make AI models far more robust.
Thanks. Actually, that's very fascinating. Actually, it made me realize I should go speak to you in your office in directly. I think my natural progression, I think I'll go to Dr. Mohan, actually, because it's about, I think it's a natural link. So Dr. Mohan, just to summarize, we had Atul here from an ecosystem perspective, and Mitila here giving more of a private sector, how they build the ground up. I think you're a very natural transition, and I remember when my colleague and I met you in your office, you had this aspiration to say, how can I create a big gig economy on digital skilling, and how can we empower the rural economy with that? I think Nilet also, I think it's always the silent powerhouse behind an India mission. When India mission says we will skill India, it's actually Nilet who will skill India, my understanding. So tell us a little bit on your perspective. And I just came from a roundtable with Meta, which they had a very good insight, and they were talking about inclusive AI, but we should actually talk about participatory AI. So it's not only having women include in the economy, but how can they participate in the economy? A great way with that is skilling. How do they skilling appropriately for that? And make sure, like Atul mentioned, he made a good point with Simis, is how do you make sure that we just don't skill the country without the jobs there? And great to hear your insights on that, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. And first, I'm sorry for being late because my flight got delayed from Jaipur. NILET is a government institution under Ministry of Electronics and IET, and it's called National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology. It is basically into digital skilling. One of the biggest ecosystem of skilling in the country. We have presence in every state, 56 centers spread across the country. Out of 56, 22 are in the northeast. Wow. And we are everywhere. Srinagar, Leh, Kargil, Jammu, Kashmir. Anywhere we go, in the remotest part of the country and in islands also. So that is our physical presence. And we skill 10 lakh people every year, 1 million every year. And naturally 40% of that are women. So by design, NILET is a very inclusive institution because our spread is everywhere in tier 2, tier 3 cities and in the rural part of the country. So we cater to the needs of those people who are disadvantaged sections. Also, we don't charge any fees from the poor students. So it's free. And these qualifications are of very good quality. They are acceptable for employment in many countries like Japan, Taiwan, Korea, and Singapore. Interesting thing is that what NEP has implemented today, we never had any entry barrier in our IT programs. So any student from humanities and commerce and any background can do the IT courses. So, I'll just tell one example. Kesri Asthana was CTO of Microsoft. He's our student of NILET A-level. So all those positions which a BTech student gets from a very structured system, these non-formal degrees are also providing such kind of employment to the students. There is a long list, like Dinkar Gupta, who is the CTO of KPMG in Switzerland, and in the global foundries, and you take the name of any industry, you'll find these students are there who are coming from a non-formal segment where there is a flexibility inbuilt. You can do this course number of years, number of attempts you can take. So I mean, these things are already there in the NILET and giving a lot of people to the country, to industry. And now recently, we started a digital platform. We call it NILET Digital University Platform, to again bridge the divide, because we realize that how to take the industry level skilling to the remotest part of the country. And then they get employment, and not only get employment, they are skilled in such a way that a lot of entrepreneurs come up in the rural part of the country. So the localization which Madam was telling, that how can we create the local businesses, local employment with global standards. So the solution was in skilling in a proper way. So this platform we have created in the 4 month only, we have got 45,000 registration. Wow. And every minute 5 students are registering on this platform. So we have registered 10,000 in AI, just latest number, and 3,000 in semiconductor design. So this is just few numbers which I remember through this platform. This is a very, one of the best example of AI in education, very AI intensive platform with all the personalized learning. It has a recommender system, it has a credit mapper system, it's a interview simulator program for job and all. With a AI for all program also, it is absolutely free to anyone who can do it. Most of our programs are compulsory for government jobs in India. Many of the programs also, and due to the quality. So any student in the remotest part doing our programs can get a government employment. They will be employed. And I am telling you, if you go to the northeast in any state, anybody who is having any IT knowledge, he is graduated from NILET. So that kind of intervention NILET has made, and women are very part of it. But very focused program on the women. Now we are thinking, and we are doing also, like recently, we are working on a project with you for the women who have actually, due to their family pressure, they have stopped working for 4-5 years. They have taken a break from the employment, and how to bring them again through skilling in the mainstream, especially AI. So that one program we are launching very soon. Which is very much women-centric. We have done many programs in cyber security, especially for women, and they have got employment also in AI also. And this platform also integrated with industrial, and 160 industries are onboarded on it. Wow. Okay. Yeah, and they keep posting their job roles, and students get employment through online virtual interview system. And you tell the name of any industry, Infineon Germany, or Intel, or Nvidia, or Microsoft, or IBM, everybody is working with us. And they're giving their programs on this platform. So this platform is having all the industry-grade programs directly from the industry. It's a very practice-oriented program. That is what's important thing. Because if you do skilling and it's only theoretical without hands-on, it will not actually create jobs, and neither you will be able to create your own startup and other things. So if you go on this platform and see ndu.digital, it's a hands-on platform where all the labs are virtual for semiconductors, for AI, for cyber security, for cyber forensics, all the technology you see for Industry 4.0. And it's a very good hands-on platform. It is as good as you are doing in a physical environment. And even that can be used for the prototyping. So students are doing, and I remember students from any institution, including IIT and NIT, they are now registered on this platform.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, it is that as good as, and this is available to a student in the remotest part of the country also, right? In the next phase, we are going to create 100 studios across the country where experts from industry will come and directly take classes for the students. So this is the sum of the initiatives we are taking to make skilling very inclusive and taking the best skilling to the different part of the country. And we have seen a lot of good outcome of it. We have created few months back 28 AI data lab in 28 locations in the country. You can see in Mighty Pavilion, there are 2 products come out of these labs. One is in Indian Sign Language. It's a very good product. You upload any video or any audio, it will automatically convert into Indian Sign Language. So that has come from remote bit Agartala. From Agartala it has come, One team in Imphal is developing audio to audio translation. So this you can see in the Mighty Pavilion also it is there. I mean, these are the intervention I'm talking about. Our skilling has created 25 startups in the Northeast. So certain interventions I would like to just say here. The student of NILET in Srinagar created a model for a very peculiar problem which in Delhi we cannot think. There is a Talim, the Kaleen worker, they know only Talim. They don't know any language.
Dr. Mohan, can you, 1 minute left? Because
just I'm finishing.
Yeah, thanks.
So, it runs into 50 pages. It takes months to design one design. Now they can design and Talim is automatically generated. So such kind of interventions which through skilling we have made, it is all inclusive. Women are part of it. In the digital platform also, I have seen that 40% women are registered here. So that is a certain initiative you have taken. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dr. Mohan. So now I want to get to you now. So you work in a wonderful space where people talk about job through AI, but augmented AI and facilitate already in structures that are there to solve problems have a huge impact on productivity, income for women. Can you talk about your experience at Digital Green? Yeah.
So pleasure to be here. I'll talk a little bit about Digital Green and I'll focus on agriculture, something that my co-panelists also started talking about. So there are 500 smallholder farmers around the world, and their work matters so much because the food that each of us depends on relies on them. But they have to solve problems around pest, around climate change, volatile market prices, all without often support of any advice. Sometimes there's no sensors, there's no scientists, there are no satellites that are reaching these smallholder farmers. So if the advice comes too late, or if it doesn't come at all, what ends up happening is that crops get sick, animals get sick, families and communities lose their income and go hungry. This is the problem that Digital Green has been working on for over 18 years. We've been trying to get better advice, innovation to smallholder farmers a lot more quickly. We used to do that with videos, and then AI came around a few years ago, and we decided what an amazing opportunity to do a tool and put a tool in the hands of smallholder farmers that can actually give them advice 24/7. Now, there are some extension agents or frontline workers that try to reach farmers, but the ratio is 1 to 1,000. And when it comes to women, women are even more neglected by these networks of frontline workers. And when advice does reach women, it actually doesn't often work for the situations that they're in. So when we decided to build Farmer Chat, our AI advisor, we thought, how can we do this in a way that's not just good for agriculture advisory, but it's good for women farmers as well? So where are we today? We have actually, as of last week, reached 1 million farmers with Farmer Chat. About 60% of those farmers are in India. And then we also deploy in Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, in Africa, and also Brazil. Farmer Chat is available in 14 unique languages. And I'll tell you some stories about how are we making this work, particularly for women and for smallholder farmers. One of the challenges is that reading agriculture advice, imagine somebody telling you like how to prune a tree. It's not easy to follow that advice. We realized that we really had to make it, what farmers want to do is they want to show you and they want to tell you. And that means that texting or using a text-first keyboard type of chatbot isn't going to work that much. So farmer chat is very multimodal. This means that farmers can take a picture of a yellow leaf or something that's happening in their crop, or they can use their voice and tell us a story of what's happening. And AI will respond and they can listen to the advisory. They can do this in local language. This has been a game changer. About 40% of the 8 million queries that we have on our app are multimodal. And that means that if somebody is struggling with digital literacy, there is a way to leapfrog that and provide advice in a way that matters to them. Another thing that we know that particularly women farmers struggle with is having smartphones and then having data on those phones. It is not so much an issue in India, but data is so expensive in Ethiopia and in Kenya. So buying a data bundle and then using it to get advisory was a big barrier to access. So we decided to go to Safaricom, which is a telco, and we decided to make the app free, zero rated, for all of the users in Africa. And what we saw is that people started using it a lot more because that barrier to access was lowered. And then so I'll mention one more barrier. The other barrier is that for a lot of these farmers, they have never used a digital tool before. And there's this idea of a capability overhang. It's an imagination bottleneck. What questions should I ask? How far can this app help me? And what we realize is that a lot of people are intimidated to look at a blank screen and figure out what questions to ask. So the two things we did is that we created some starter questions. These are things that people can just enter and see examples of questions they can ask. But then if they ask a question, our AI automatically gives 3 follow-up questions to help the conversation keep going, to help them dig deeper. So these are things that we're doing to make the design easier. But I'll tell you a story. It's not just about making this app accessible. It's also about making the advice really personalized and really localized for women with this fine-tuning. I'll tell you a story. When I was in Bihar, and I was speaking to a woman, and I asked her, how's it going? Do you like the app? And she said, not so much. And I said, tell me more. What happened? How have you used it? And she said, well, I really wanted to start a chicken business. I bought these baby chicklets very, very early. Turns out they're really cheap when you buy them very, very young, but they're also very hard to keep alive. So she asked the app, and this was early in the day, and she said, my chicks are getting sick. They're dying. What can I do? And I said, okay, great question. What advice did Farmer Chad give you? And she said, Farmer Chad said, go vaccinate them. She said, of course I know that you can pay to vaccinate chickens, but I'm a poor woman farmer. I want to make money with this business. I don't have enough money right now to vaccinate the chickens. So what we realized is that you have to give options for people that have different labor capabilities, different income capabilities. And so we've been doing a lot to actually fine-tune and get local annotators to look at the answers and localize them and say, do they work for everybody? And how can we make them work for everybody? So I told you a lot of stories about the design, really getting, it's hard. I'm not gonna say that it's easy. We feel very proud that we reached 1 million farmers. About 1/3 of them are women. Our goal for next year is 45. Now I'm gonna tell you a little bit more about, is it working, right? And so we've done some surveys, and 7 out of 10 farmers say that they're adopting the advice on Farmer Chat within 30 days of getting it, which for us is amazing because we've been working in this space for a long time. But what's interesting is that women are saying that they feel more secure and more capable in terms of the type of innovations that they can do in their farm. And this was actually surprising. And the hidden thing is it seems like we're building agency. And what women are confiding is that they're saying that it feels like a safe space to ask questions. I don't feel judged. I don't feel dismissed. I can actually ask questions that I wouldn't feel comfortable going to other people around. So there's a lot there. It's an ongoing process. We have so much to learn about the questions that women asking, what kind of responses that they value, and how we can really lower those barriers to access. But I think we're excited to be playing and active in this space. And the last thing I'll say is that we really care about income increase and productivity increase. So we have 3 randomized control trials that are one that has started in Kenya, one that is starting in India, and one in Ethiopia. That's really going to tell us, is this matter and is this actually changing livelihoods in the long term? So.
Thanks a lot. That's wonderful. I'd love to talk more. I think before taking questions to the crowd, one very quick one sentence from each, because I don't have time for a second round. What is one concrete thing you would do to improve the lot of women in AI from your perspective? Very quickly, yeah. One sentence, please.
So, one sentence. The one thing is the policy change is important, because if you keep same rule for men and women, many times it may be difficult. Like that 40 hours of the work or 7 days a week you should work, so it will be difficult. I think industry should change some policy also, and then skilling will be more important for them.
Great. Thanks.
I would say to come together around building local languages and doing those really, really well. There's so many gaps when they're actually in deployment in the field, and this is not one thing that one organization can do alone. So I think if we can really unlock local language and do that well, it's going to do amazing things for women in AI.
Thanks.
I think for me, we are seeing Government of India put tens of thousands of crores by initiative in R&Ds, AI, deep tech, etc., etc. If you want intentional gender outcomes, we need to create a very specific fund of funds for women inclusion in digital and AI. And it will be great to see a lot more digital greens and Maxwells come out of initiatives like that.
Fantastic. Vidya?
I think I would articulate a vision first to say, can we create India as an AI factory for the world? And in a hub and spoke model, where the hubs are the cities and the AI development happens there, and the small towns are the ones where the human in the loop work happens. So if we define that as a vision, then I would say creating a skill ladder, training the women on the specifics in a structured manner online, and creating the equivalent of Naukri for women in AI.
Fantastic, great. Thanks. So we have time. This was speed paneling, I guess. We have time for maybe a few questions, 6 minutes. So maybe we can take 1 or 2 questions for the panel. Yeah. Any questions? Are you stretching or you have a question? Yeah. Yeah. Any interesting queries? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm Dheeraj Dolwani from B2R, which is doing rural BPO in the next 12th model for the last 17 years in Uttarakhand. We also happen to be a Dutch digital Naukri cohort member of DNC, Najin's cohort member also. I was actually listening to both of you and I couldn't resonate more. My question is more towards, Maithili, you mentioned a lot about task-based skilling, and the example you gave of medical coding is exactly what I saw doing wonderfully there. It is the investments in contextual skilling which we believe that could actually be the answer to what you've talked about in that. Could you give some more thoughts? I mean, how is that really going to be the big game changer? And I can hear a lot about Nilet right now, Dr. Mohan, what you said. I looked up some of the courses. They are very good for somebody who doesn't know anything about anything. But the kind of contextual learning that we are grappling with in this segment of a particular task needed to be done with a lot of context. We do accounting work when a person who doesn't have any background of commerce or accounting is doing that work. Now, a lot of the context, background and learning has to be encapsulated in that contextual learning. How can AI help us in that? I'm keen to know any thoughts on that.
No, absolutely. I think context-based skilling is very important, especially with AI agents and agentic AI coming in. A lot of the standard work is going to get automated. So therefore, for example, we do work in the retail space. So we have people in Salem and Chittoor actually deciding on the next fashion accessories or the next generation of fashion, which is going to be released all over the world. So they cannot do that unless they have the local context, unless they understand where the client, what is the customer looking for when he is giving this work to us. So I think the first part is in terms of skilling in terms of the actual task. So let's assume it is data annotation or product tagging and things like that. So actual work. Second is assuming a lot of this work would get automated. Going to the next level of skill, which actually looks at saying it's just not the task, but what is the context and the higher level of skill that would be required, which would be fine-tuning or human eval or that sort of work that needs to be better prompting, right? That sort of training that needs to be given. So I think we are still some way from there. We are assuming that the whole world is now moving. Is already moved towards AI. It is moving and it is moving very fast. But I think first level is task-based skilling. Second level is going to contextualizing it. And third level is doing a better job of the prompting and fine-tuning.
Thank you. We have time for one more question. Anybody? Yeah. Question? Yeah.
Sir, my question is that the real challenge about the reshaping work for women is the adoption of women in the skilling courses and all. So how are you tackling that in NILED, as you said that there is so much penetration of women? Because if we don't know that, then we'll not be able to capitalize AI infrastructure and all for anything to be penetrated to the women sector of the society.
Well, that is true. That's a real problem. Because if you just see, there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the rural part of India, women entrepreneurs. I met a lady in Manipur. She is having 18,000 workers working for her. And they are making a lot of, bags and other things with that. But when you talk about the tech entrepreneurship, they don't have that much confidence in themselves. They can do it. So that's a mindset issue with which, we all have to tackle that and give more confidence to them through a very targeted skill programs. And we are working right now on that also, that they get a confidence that they can also do some tech kind of entrepreneurship. When I say we have created 25 startups, none of them are women. So, that's kind of mindsets are coming, and that's the old generation who is coming and thinking like that. We have to train new generation to think very, very differently. So that's a thing where we have to work through skilling only so that they get more confidence, they develop things, develop products for them. And, women especially are very good in product management. They're very good in empathy. So such kind of things which are, future skills, there we can use them. So we are working on that, but it takes time, Yeah.
Can I squeeze one more question? It's not, the bell is not ringing yet. One more question, yeah.
Please keep your questions short and right at the point.
Great.
There's a mic here.
Hi, I'm Abhimanyu. I'm an engineer turned lawyer. So when we spoke about agricultural field particularly, you spoke about the problem being solved in a particular problem equation, say why the chicks fell ill and using AI to solve that. So, but in India, predominantly the informal sector and agricultural sector, there is a feminization of workforce. And is there a way that you guys see that AI can help bridge the wage inequality which is there, particularly in these fields?
Yeah, so I think the way that we've been thinking about it is we know that there is income gap. Having the same land under management, women, that land will underperform if a woman farmer has it versus a man for various reasons. And so what we want to do is with a tool like Farmer Chat, we can see if we can actually bridge that income gap. Can we decrease it? Can we get advice that works for women in the local context? But the AI models that are available now are not yet good enough to provide that both localized advice in the local language and that's also personalized to the context of that female farmer and their her motivations, preferences, etc. So a lot of the journey that we are doing is one is to make the user interface and access very good, but the other is can we fine tune and localize these models so then that advisory can be fit to provide advice. That advice is not enough. You have to connect the women to market, to income, and this one, partnerships come forward. But it's putting those pieces together in the ecosystem to lift up those livelihoods.
Great, thanks. I think we're 0 on the dot. So thank you so much. Thanks for the panel. It's wonderful, wonderful work, and thanks for the audience. Thanks, Yashita, for putting this together, and thanks for the whole team as well. There's a whole bunch of powerful ladies that prepared this panel, actually. Thanks a lot.
So I just request Dr. Kapil Kant Sharma to please come on board and present a small memento to all the panelists. And I really thank everyone for joining us today. So with this, we'll wrap up the session for today.
We're such a big fan of yours.
Sorry, one last